All right. Oh, hi. Hello, welcome. Um, we're gonna go ahead and get started in a few minutes. I'm just waiting for more people to join. In the meantime, though, I want to hear like where everybody's from. Um, yeah, I want to hear where everybody is from. India, Texas, also. So India, Texas, India. Well, I guess that kind of makes sense because of the time that it is right now, right? I could totally see that. I totally could. Okay. So, more people. Germany, India. Oh, wow. Interesting. Well, I'm from California, or I'm living in California. I'm from Maryland. Um, I'm doing very well. I hope everybody's doing well too. So we're gonna get started in a few minutes. What I want to do is I want more people to kind of join and trickle in. And then I think like in 4 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and get started. In the meantime, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to put this I'm going to make a copy of something and I'm going to share my screen. And then that way we can have it and then we'll get started in a few minutes. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's share screen. I came to say hi. It's 4 a.m. You're writing a uni essay. Oh my gosh. Do we need some prerequisites? Not really, because this is just part one, right? Yeah. Nice brick wall. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Present, share screen. Not StreamYard. This is kind of a little bit frustrating. Okay, let's do this. Not now. Okay, let's go ahead to here. And let's do Control C. And then let's put this here. Okay, so now I'm gonna share my screen again. I don't know what happened. That was I'm so sorry. I was trying to share my screen. Present, share screen. There we go. Okay. So you're going to see yourself for a second. But no, I didn't. I was trying to do something else and then it just okay. All right. We're going to get started in like 5 minutes. I'm going to wait for more people to join. Get whatever you need. If you need a cup of water, if you need to grab your charger, whatever you need to be able to get with the stream, go ahead and do that. I'm going to share this screen and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So I'm going to click on add to stream and I'm going to go in here and I'm actually going to turn off Oof. Okay. All right, time back. So now we can go ahead and we can get started. Um, oh, ha ha ha. I think now it's definitely back to normal because you can definitely hear me, I think. So let's go ahead and let's do this. So I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. I'm going to go back here. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building an API that's going to help you manage and manage, and keep track of causes and issues that you personally care about. But before I do that, there's some housekeeping things I want to just mention really quickly. So I want to remind everybody about the check-in link. So I'm going to put it in the chat. If you haven't already checked in, make sure that you do so. That's how you get points and, like tracking the fact that you came here and you did this, like this specific stream or this specific like session. And you can get swag and stickers and stuff in the mail. So definitely go ahead and check in. I'm going to remind you again at the end of the session, but make sure that you do so you can get credit for attending this session. So with that being said, if you have any questions about anything that we talk about, just feel free to put it in the chat. I will be taking a look at it periodically, and you'll be able to tell that I can look at it because I can do this right here. Also, that's the chat. And that's the checking link. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building an API that's going to help you find, manage, and keep track of causes and issues that you care about using Java. That's what we're doing. And so if you can imagine, right, there's a part 1 and there's a part 2. So the part 1 is tonight, the part 2 is tomorrow night. And what we're going to really spend today doing is thinking about ideation and thinking about like how we can go ahead and like plan something and make it make sense and make it easy for us to write the code, right? So let's go ahead and actually talk about ideation. So I'm going to make this not as bold anymore. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just think through like what you want to do. And so when you think about this API, right, we're thinking about our users, and we're just like, as a user of this API, I should be able to find causes that I care about. I should be able to manage them by, adding them or saving them or something like that, right? And keep track of them. So like, keep track of them so like you can maybe be notified about them or something like that. So you can be notified of them, or like find out if there's new updates or something. So that's the basic idea of what a user of this API should be able to do, right? So now let's kind of think through like input. Let's think through action, and then let's think through output, right? So if you think about input, it's like, okay, technically it seems like we might have 2 types of users, right? We can have somebody who's like a regular user, so like audience, and then we can think about like a admin, right? Somebody who can like control causes and issues, right? So now that I've kind of broken it down into this different ways, I want to know from you all. Let's start with like a regular user. You're just a regular person and you are like, okay, would I use this kind of API? What would I, use it for? etc. I'm curious, how many of you actually know what an API is? Because I think that's probably where a good place where we can start. Just like understanding what an API is, what is the point of it? Have you ever built one before? So I'm gonna go to the chat and see. Oh yeah, if you don't, definitely, yeah, you should definitely go ahead and check in. Please Zoom if it's possible. So like this. Does this help? I'm not sure if you saw that. Oh, okay. Which connects back end and front end. Yeah, that's basically the idea of it, right? It's that like the idea is that if you are an API, you're allowing people to have access to stuff that is in your database, right? They're not like updating your database because that's not a good idea. Nobody should would do that, like manually go ahead and update your database. But the idea of like an API is that it's connecting what you have in the back end and it's connecting what you have in the front end. It's allowing to take access to data that you need, right? And information that you need. And so that's the basic idea of an API. And so you can use Java, you can use Python, you can use literally so many different languages. You can be able to use them to be able to build your own API. And so what we're going to be doing this week really is building our own API, but using Java. And so if you're not familiar with Java, you learn today, or not today, you learn tomorrow night, and you learn how to basically build your own API with it. Application programming interface for server resources. Yeah, basically that's the idea. You're having access to stuff from your database and your server. Communicate between front end and back end. That absolutely is the basic idea. Yep. And then it's used to send and receive data from the internet. Again, you're all saying the same thing. That's good. That's good to know. Issues and causes. Sorry if you already explained them as I'm a bit late. That's fine. So again, the idea is that we're building an API that is part of Social Good Global Hack Week that's happening this week. And so if you can imagine like the Social Good Hack Week, we're supposed to build something that's in that theme. So we're going to be having an API, and an API is something that allows you to have access to somebody else's database without like updating it, without touching it manually. And so you can imagine like if there is this repository, this database, this place of like different types of social issues and social causes that exist, and anybody can go in there and have access to that API and collect information from it, right? And update it and manage it and track it and figure out what's going on with it and what different types of social issues exist in America or in North America or in Chile or in Nigeria or literally wherever in the world, right? That's the basic idea of what we're building. And so that's literally it. But because it's an API, we can abstract it to be as generic as possible. But we're just going to be more like the foundational idea of it this week. Yep, APIs absolutely have post and get requests. That's exactly part of it for sure. Yeah. What kind of API are we going to be building? We're going to be building it in Java. All right, cool. So it looks like those are all the questions that I've seen so far. I'm going to go ahead and go back to talking about the API. So we're talking about a regular user. Now that you all are very familiar with what an API is and what it does and what to expect from it, let's kind of go through like what a regular person that wants to use this API, what they possibly would want to be able to take from it, right? And what information would they want to have. So you can imagine that like in terms of input, we can start, actually, maybe we can just start with like fields, right? So we could possibly say, oh, give me a second. Okay, so for fields, I think what we're gonna do is we're going to think about like what are some possible things that we would need for like a regular user. So we're gonna need like name or like cause name, right? So like maybe like the name of the cause. So you can imagine like example would be like animal rights, right? And then under a cause name, it could be like a map maybe. And under a cause name, it could have like different nonprofits. So maybe like nonprofits that support it, right? It could have, Yeah, I could have nonprofits that support, and then under nonprofits that support it, that could just be like a list. So maybe like a list of nonprofits that support it. And then under the list of nonprofits that support it, we can have like name. It can be like an object, right? It can be a list of nonprofit objects that support it, and we can have name. We can have like location. So like, where do they do work? We can have like maybe even like size of nonprofit, maybe, and then maybe like a donation link or something, right? And we can think of more things as we kind of keep going. And so we have this cause name that's just like all the possible causes that exist, in this API. But then for the regular user, you can imagine that like we're going to need like user's name, right? User's location, maybe even like user's payments information. No, maybe not. But like users like liked causes, right? So causes that they care about, like a map of that, right? What else could we possibly need to know about the user that would help them be able to like keep track of causes and issues that they care about? We can think about that later. But basically, this idea is that like if we think about action, we're thinking about like maybe like the user should be able to do like a post request to the database. Should also be able to do like maybe a get request to the database. And then what else? So in terms of post requests, and we wanted them to be able to do something to the database, like with a post request, maybe they could be able to like update the list of nonprofit objects associated with the cause, right? Another maybe post request that they can do is like add or maybe like update, either delete or remove, right? So delete or add. What else can a regular use? They can be able to, under get request, they can be able to say, give me all of my causes that I like, right? Or give me all causes that exist, period, right? Under a cause, or just that exists, period. And then give me all causes that exist under a specific cause. So like all nonprofits, rather. Let's see, what else? Let me check on here and see if anybody has anything to say. So Spring Boot it is. Yes, that's very correct. It's going to be Spring Boot. Is this going to be different from the Java API session held in ALML week last month? Kind of, because of the fact that what we're building is different, but we're still building an API. Does that make sense a little bit? Like we're building an API just like we built last time with Java, but this time we're building an API that does something different. So fields in API are the set of information that can be accessed from the server. Yes, exactly. Yep. Those are all the things that it has access to from the database. Get list of collections. Let me think. Can you expand? Do you mean like get list of collections? Like get list of all the possible causes that exist? Like, let me share my screen again. Are you talking about like this right here? Where it's like, give me all the causes that I like, give me all the causes that exist, give me all nonprofits that exist under a specific cause. Is that what you mean by get list of collections? Or are you talking about something else? I just meant of individual get requests for each different collection. Oh, let me think about that. Each different collection. Yeah, that definitely would be something like this. So it's like you give me all the nonprofits that exist under a specific cause. So you would pass a query that says cause equals animal rights, and then you would give you all of the nonprofits that exist for that. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'm glad that I caught that. That's good. Yeah. So now we have like this field right here. Let's kind of think through like admin, and then we're going to move on. Sorry, my face is very itchy. Okay. So in terms of an admin, and you think about the fields that an admin has, right? When you think about the fields that an admin has, so somebody who can control stuff, they need to be able to like, what are some things that they can't do that other people can do, right? So you're an admin, maybe you're the one that's a nonprofit. Maybe what you can actually do is you would have these fields as well for sure, right? So you could have like maybe these fields on here, but because you're a super user, maybe one thing that you can do in action that other people can't do is um sorry, I'm having a brain moment. Maybe one thing that you can do as a super user is you can delete or add, but you can also do the same thing with like the nonprofit. So update the nonprofit objects associated with the cost. So delete or add fields in them like address, donation link, etc, things like that, right? And then in terms of get, you can just give me all of my like maybe not like causes that I edited because you are like a super user, right? Or give me all causes that exist, or give me all causes that exist under a specific cause. So I feel like this kind of makes sense a little bit. So is there anything that people think we're missing in our like fields or things that we should be able to do in this API for the regular user and for the admin user? Merge collection for admin. Can you explain to me what the point of merging would be? Like, what are we why are we what as an admin user, what are you merging? Are you merging like nonprofits in this? Let me share my screen again. Are you trying to say that we should be able to merge, like, if we have a hash map of like animal rights causes and then all the nonprofits, and we have one of like racism and all the nonprofits, are you saying we should be able to merge both causes together or like both nonprofits together? Is that what you're asking? And then somebody says, would they have granular control over other users and or just the causes and associate data? The causes, but also the nonprofits, right? Like the nonprofits specifically should be able to like edit them and change them and update them as you see fit. Make put requests as super user. Make put requests as super user. So updating basically, right? Like being able to delete or add. So I think we got that part. Being able to add a cause. Oh, that's a very good point. I didn't think about that. Yes, you should absolutely be able to add a cause. Add a cause to a database. Yes, very, very true. I think standard users should also get to create issues/causes. First, they should submit it for approval to the admins. Interesting. Okay, so let me go back to this. So you said that regular users should be able to add causes and issues. Let's see. So, oh, this is a regular user. Wait a second. So it looks like they can. I guess this is for nonprofit. So you're saying like they should be able to edit causes as well. So add new causes to the database. Okay. Sounds good to me. And then this person says, merge collection of donation for the same cause. Do you think that's a good idea? Because if nonprofit A and nonprofit B, even though they're under the same cause, if we merge their money together, isn't that going to be a problem now? Or am I not thinking about it in a good way? Activate, deactivate nonprofits if they lose 503c status. Yes, that's a very good idea. So as an admin, we should be able to update nonprofit objects, but also status, right? So delete non-profits. Get a detailed information about the causes and being able to update it if necessary. Get a detailed information about the causes and being able to update it. Yep, that's what we have right here. Right here, we're updating the causes, we're updating the nonprofits right here. We got that. All right, any other things that people think I should add to our list of ideation or plan? Will the users be allowed to donate just to a cause in general or just to nonprofits? That's a very good question. What do you all think? I think it should only be to a nonprofit because then it's like a field of that nonprofit, right? Donation link. We can't do like a donation link for cause name because then we have to divide the money. But if we have a donation link just for the nonprofits, then it's easier for us to deal with it, right? Versus the other way around. Moderation of issues / causes and filter out irrelevant ones. Moderation of issues / causes and filter out irrelevant ones. Do you mean like they should be able to like vet, like delete nonprofits under a certain cause? Now that makes sense. So if they're like, this is not relevant anymore, they should be able to delete it if it's under a certain cause, or even like move it, right? So move nonprofits to a different cause. Yeah, that makes sense. If users are allowed to donate just to the cause, the donations can be pooled to distribute in some ways that could benefit all nonprofits. That's fair, but do you think that would make it more complicated than it needs to? When if it's just a donation link, right, you can just send the money straight to the nonprofit that you want to look at. But you know what you just reminded me of though? I think I should add like a description or something for nonprofit field. So like a description, like what do they do? You know, maybe even photos or something, like something on like a website link. So you can be able to see like what that nonprofit does. Can we rank? Do we want to rank in this API? Do we want this API to rank nonprofits? Since people do not always know what all nonprofits do, they might be more comfortable to let the site decide whom to donate based on certain criteria. No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I just wonder if we make it more complicated because then we have to do like amount in donation divided by X number, right? And technically, we're just an API, right? We're not a website. We're just an API that like anybody can go to and they can be like, oh, I want this data on like how many nonprofits are in animal rights or like how many nonprofits are working on racism or immigration or things of that sort. And if we're just an API, like we think about it, we're just a layer that sits between the back end and the front end. We're not dividing money. We're not giving, like, we're not, making the math and like, oh, this is how much we're supposed to get. We're just literally just helping people get access to information that they need. So if they want to build a nonprofit competition API, or like non-competition website, they can use our API because they have access to this data, right? So if you think about it that way, that could probably help to see how, like, maybe it might not be necessary for us to divide the money. Maybe the nonprofits can do with the money however they want to. Like, it'll be easier for the user to choose from a lot of nonprofits. So let's think about this for a second. So you're saying that we should rank the nonprofits because it'll be easier for them to choose from a lot of nonprofits. What would be the criteria that we use to rank them? Like, people who have gotten donations recently? Is that what we would use? Like, last person that just received a donation goes to the top or goes to the bottom? Like, how would we rank them? The scope of API must be open. Yeah, that's a really important part of API. So like, I'm a software engineer at work, and I feel like whenever I'm working on APIs, my manager and my technical leads are always like, it needs to be very generic, right? Other people need to be able to do with this information what they want to, and it can't be like us, making it like, we have to be very generic. You have to think of yourself like as a library, like you're just a middleman. You're just giving people information that they need, and they can do whatever they want to with it. Most active nonprofit. That's actually very interesting. Okay, so what would we use to like define that? Could we use like updated at? But updated at is not good because that means like people are like, they're like just constantly making API calls to like their API, and then we're updating at, but like they're not doing anything different. So what would we use to make activity defined? Like, what would be the definition? Like, how would we know what is the most active nonprofit? In my opinion, ranking will get preferred. I agree, especially because technically, right, what we're doing is we're not a website, right? We're just a library. We're a library that's giving people information, which I could see how someone be like, oh, what is the number one nonprofit in the world? That's a possibility, right? Where they're like, what is the number one nonprofit under animal cause? Or if somebody's like, what is the number one cause that Americans care about? So then we could use the username, right? And we could use the causes that people like, right? Things that people are liking or like they're saving. That's a possibility where it could be with causes that are ranked, but not nonprofits. Because I agree it will get preferential, but I'm down for doing that with like the causes versus the nonprofits. You could have a trending feature based on engagements, but maybe beyond the scope of this. That's a very good point. So I'm going to actually share, add to screen and maybe do like a nice to have section. So in the nice to have section, maybe we could say something like, number of likes a cause gets is like per day, maybe is tallied to like, rank causes or something like that. And maybe have like a fake trending, because again, it's not a website, right? So something that like, people can be able to fetch information about, like, oh, what's like the most popular cause? We can tell you because we have a database, we have an API. Let's see. Oh, I think you're talking about ranking, I think. Number of donations, maybe. Let me try to remember what you were talking about. Number of donations. Oh, in terms of what we could use to like do number, like most active nonprofit. That's fair. So number of likes and number of donations. But again, it's not at the nonprofit level, right? It's at the cause level. And again, we're not ranking it, right? It's like us collecting this data. And if somebody makes a post request and like, under this cause, maybe like, I don't know, just call it like, what's the most popular one or something? It would be part of the JSON output that we give it. And it would just be in there like, oh, number one most popular for today or something. A KPI for the activity monitoring for nonprofits. I need you to expand on that. What do you mean? I know what a KPI is, so it's like a metric. But what does that have to do with activity monitoring for nonprofits? Like, what would that do? If that makes sense at all. Does that make sense? Oh, that's actually a continuation for the last message. Okay, cool. All right, let me go back to share my screen. Is there anything else that people think I should add to this API that we need to think about in ideation, that we're not thinking about yet, that we just need to include and come up with, that we're missing? In the meantime, I want to see if there's anything that I missed. Okay, classes, building, and testing. Okay, so classes. Okay. All right. Let me go back to StreamYard. How good is Java to learn in 2023? I'm gonna assume is what you're asking. I don't know. I'm not sure actually. I mean, I feel like Java's, it's been around for so long, longer than I've been alive, and I'm 22. I think Java's been around for. Let me see. Invented year. I think so. Yeah, 1995. Java's been around longer than I've been alive, and I'm a software engineer and I write code in Java. So I feel like it probably, it really does. It doesn't sound like it's a bad idea. If that's something that you want, you feel like it would be easy for you to learn, definitely go for it. I don't think it would hurt at all, really. Yeah. All right. So what we're gonna do is this. Just a thought. Ranking and trends tend to drive user behavior, leading to biased outcome. That's fair. That's definitely fair, which is why I think we should keep it as a nice to have. We might not actually build it into the API, but maybe that could be something that you all can do and build on top of it on your own time if you want to. But no, that's very fair. I agree. Okay, so let me go back to share my screen. When we come back after the break, we're going to go over classes and how we're going to build this, like what layers we're going to have, the repository layer, the entities, the queries, all of that. And then we're going to think about how we're going to test this. And maybe we'll write some code before this session ends. So let me just do we'll be back after the break at, let's give everybody like a 20-minute break just to, get some water, take some time away from the screen. Let's say 20 minutes. Oh, so like 9 p.m. 9 p.m. PT, 12 a.m. PT. Okay, cool. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Cool. Any questions or anything people want to say? Can you share the link to the document? There you go. Also have a question, how to build an API. How to build an API. So we're going to talk on that after the break comes back. I think it's good to have some stats for each nonprofit and or cause to have a count of donations in the API. That's a very good point. Hold that thought. After the break, we'll definitely talk about it. Let me go ahead and put a timer. Let's do a timer for... Okay, let's stop. Let me share my screen. Oh, I'm going to stop this. And I'm going to add to stream. I'm going to remove myself. I'll be back after the Oops, sorry. For a second there, I wasn't sure. Sorry. Okay. I got distracted for a second there. But our countdown is officially over. Our break is done. Now we can move on to going ahead and writing our code. So please give access. Okay, let me do that right now. Let's stream. Let's click on share. Okay, so now you should be able to see it and have access to it. Okay, so all right, so let's go to our Social Good API. So our break is over. And what I had said was that we're going to basically work on this idea of it, like the building block of it. And then once we have that, we're going to end the session there. And then tomorrow we'll actually go ahead and build what we want to build. Sound good to people? So before I actually move on though, I remember somebody had given the idea about, let me find the comment. They had said, I think it's good to have some stats for nonprofit and or cause to have a count of donations in the API. That's a really good idea because it can also help us for like accountability, right? Like your donation link, you know. But let's think about it. If we were to have some sort of stat like that, just because somebody donated, does that, like, if they clicked on the link, right, or something like that, like if they clicked on the donation link and it took them to another website where they donated, just because we counted that as donations, it couldn't necessarily mean that they donated, right? Because what if they just exit? What if they just left, like exit? What if they just like exited or like quit the website and they didn't actually donate or put any money in it, right? So then we have to ask ourselves, okay, even if we did integrate into the API anyway, if you have a count of donation, how do we know they clicked on it? It's just an API, right? It's not a website. We're just giving you data from the database. So what are we counting? Who has that information? So I want us to think through that a little bit. Maybe we can be able to figure it out. Of course. Let me get some water again. I don't know what's going on with me. Okay. So it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions, any comments, or anything that they want us to add to our API again, or anything that they feel like isn't already there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started with just thinking about like our classes, right? So for example, I think if we're going to have a class, we should possibly have like a cause class, maybe. Maybe we should have like class cause, maybe a class user, and then user type can be either like admin or Either admin or what is it called? What is it called? Admin or regular user. So I guess like we could just say like I don't know, maybe audience or something. What other possible type of class could we possibly need? Do we need a nonprofit class? Maybe not. Or maybe we do, because we're going to need objects. Okay, maybe a class of nonprofits. What else could we possibly need in terms of classes? Okay, we can go into the fields now. But for a cause, right, we need like cause name, we need cause, I guess really the name, right? And then maybe we can have like a cause object or maybe like a cause map for sure, right? We want a cause map where it's kind of like the idea is that key is cause name, right? And then list of non-profit objects. But I think what I'm struggling to wrap my head around is like, just because we have a list of non-profit objects, do we then actually need a class of non-profits? Or can we just, no, we do, because we need to create the objects. That's true. We need to create the object. So a nonprofit can have like a name, donation link. It can have an address. It can have a what else can a nonprofit have? I think we went over this a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna copy and paste this right here. Okay, so that's what like we can imagine that it would have, right? And then for a cause, you know, oh, I guess the key is cause object, right? Because ultimately for a cause object, like the field, it's going to be name. It's going to be, what else could you possibly need for a cause object? Like name, maybe number of likes. No, because we talked about how that's a nice to have. I guess that's really it, really just name. Okay. And then for the user type, I think I have this right here. And then, yep, name, location, and then their like, call like their map, right, of what they like. What else do we need for fields under classes? Let me check the chat. How about region-wise donations? Can you expand on that? What do you mean? I'm not sure. In the meantime, does anybody think there's anything else that I could possibly add to my API that would be necessary for the classes? Anything else that we're maybe missing or we're thinking? I'm trying to think as well if there's anything that I'm missing. Oh, what is happening? What are you doing, Rahul? What is happening here? Anyway. All right, so I guess in that case, our class is done. Let me go back to the chat again. Okay, let's see. What did somebody say? Is active. Okay, so that's definitely, oh, like the status for each. That's fair. That's definitely fair. But that's what I was asking. Do you remember when, I don't know if it was you or maybe it was somebody else who posed this question earlier, right? But I was asking, like, how do you know if somebody's active? Like, how do you count that? How are you able to track it? Like, what's the criteria? Is it like how often they update their nonprofit page or like their nonprofit data. But then that means like anybody who's just updating stuff, then they're not really, or is it just a default? Like the default is just active, non-active, and everybody's just active. And unless an admin goes in and says change status, then it's always just going to be active as a default. We could do that if that's what you mean. But if you mean something else, I wonder how we'd be able to control it, right? Like, what would that look like? Let me add that. So you're saying like is active for a nonprofit, just set to true all the time, unless somebody changes it. Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. So now, I think the next thing, since nobody has anything else to add about this, I don't see any comments about it. Let's go ahead and let's talk about how we're going to build this. So if we have some sort of like checklist for ourselves. So for one, we have this like Spring Boot layer, right? So Spring Boot, you know, to build it. And then we have like we have Spring Boot to build it. And then we have like a SQL database, right, that stores the info. And then what else do we need in terms of building? I can't think of anything, but for testing, we can use Postman to send requests to make sure it goes through. And then what else do we need for testing? Maybe we can have some unit tests. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me see if there's anything I'm missing. Nope, nothing from anybody. Okay, well, in that case, is there anything? Oh, sorry. Give me a second. Okay, all right. So I'm thinking. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's definitely everything that I possibly would want to add. Oh, and then maybe if we want to have a client in the future that's actually going to have like a website, you know, like, or an app or something. Cool. All right. In that case, it looks like I didn't miss anything, right? Can anybody confirm that this looks good to you? Like, does this make sense? I'm going to. That this makes sense, that this looks like it would be good, that this is valid, that there's anything I should add. Doesn't look like it. Database, I'm one step ahead of you right here. Our SQL database that stores the information. And so we're just going to store the classes and such, and that's where we can put that information. Yeah. All right. I'm going to, should we have unique IDs associated with each object? Oh, like a nonprofit ID? That could work. That could actually work. Nonprofit ID. Yeah, that works. That definitely does work. Thank you. Okay. So now we're coming to the end of the session, but I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a recap a little bit, but also to ask you all if you all have any questions. So I'll start that. Let me start there. Does anybody have any questions at all about what you learned about APIs? What you learned, really about APIs, really about planning your own API, how to build it, etc. Does anybody have any questions? I joined right now. What did I miss? So basically, what you missed was that we were talking about APIs because this is part 1, right? Part 2 is tomorrow night. And the idea is that what we're building is we're building something that's going to sit between the database and a front end or a client or something like that. And it's basically just something that allows you to find, to manage, and to track social good causes and issues that you care about. So nonprofits, things like that. So for example, if I share my screen right here, this is the prompt, right? This is the prompt that we're looking at. And as a user of this API, you want to be able to find causes you care about, manage them by adding or saving them, and just keep track of them so you can be notified about or find out if there's new updates or something like that, right? So that's the basic idea of it. And then what are the tools to be used to build an API? So we're going to be using Java Spring Boot to build it. Yeah. I have no idea where to start. Come tomorrow and we will work on it together. That's the plan. I was wondering about the API security issues and how to manage data. So are you talking about like security? For security, that's why we have the authorization tokens, right? The keys that you're able to have access to when you're sending a request. And if we're checking that like you have the right key and the right JOT token, then we'd be able to know like, oh, okay, you have access to this data, right? But if you don't have the right JOT token or like you don't have the right API key access, then you're not going to be able to access the data. You're not going to like make post requests, make put requests, make update requests, get requests, etc. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to leave you all with one more question that I want to ask you. What did you all learn about APIs today? Those of you who at least were here from the beginning. I'm curious what you learned about APIs today. I guess while you're writing that down, I see another question. What if the key gets compromised? So that's the idea of having a JOT token. A JOT token is from like your API, from your like you specifically managing it. In terms of if the key gets compromised, I think that's why you figure out what to make your JOT token in the first place. If it gets compromised, just create a new one. For the most part, really, right? You create a new one and you distribute it to like people, your clients, people who need it, and it just doesn't work anymore because it's all about you writing the code, right? If the JOT token is not allowed by your API, you can change, like you can edit that, you can update the code to make it like it's not permanent. Ideation of an API. Yeah, I'm glad that you learned that. I'm really glad that you took that away from here. That was basically the biggest part of this session, really. It's just like thinking through like what to think about before you write your code, right? What you want to do, etc. I can't find the Google form to fill the project information. Where can I get Google form? I just not to post on that. You just need to check in, I think, right? Is that not correct? Wait, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I could be very wrong. I could be totally wrong. I think it's just enough to put on dev post and check in. Let me grab the check-in link for you though. Let's see. Where is the check-in link? I'm looking for the check-in link, which is in... Where did I put it? Oh, I made an announcement about it. No, that's somewhere else. Oh, here. Okay. Copy. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that what you need to do is you need to check in for sure. And then once you check in, the biggest part is that I think once you submit on dev post, that should be sufficient. Oh my God. I don't know why it's not sending. Oh, okay, now it is. Cool. So just go to this link that I have put here. Make sure you check in. Once you check in and then submit on DevPost, that should be sufficient. I'm pretty confident, but somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure those are the 2 steps that are sufficient. So anyway, I was waiting for more people to share in the comments. What is something that you feel like you took away from this part 1 of building your own social good API from the session? Don't be shy. If you have something in your brain, share it. Let me know. I'd love to hear it, or I guess read it. What do we have to post on DevPost? Okay. So it seems like a lot of people are confused about this. I'm going to share my screen. And then we're going to go to this together. So you check in here, right? This is where you check in, right? You see this right here. Oh, you have to log in and register. And then once you, let's see if I can log in so I can show you something. Sign in. Okay. So I'm signed in, right? You go register and then you check in, right? So now what does it say here? It says you have successfully registered and then you're checked in, right? So now though, you're talking about, let me go back to your question again. What did you ask? You said, what do we have to post on DevPost? The instructions are on there, I'm pretty sure. Give me a second. Let me verify something. Let me just verify something really quickly. What do we have to post on DevPost? Are you not able to see like literally like instructions? Like, does it not show instructions for? Let me see. I don't want to share my screen because I'm looking for something. Log in. Okay, let's click on this. What is yeah. So it seems as though, yeah. So let's go ahead. So let me share my screen because I've realized that I might be wrong about something. So this is me looking on the dev post. Let me put this in the chat as well so you all can have access to it. So what you're going to do is, you see how it says that not all challenges are submitted on DevPost. So if you don't see the challenge you're submitting for, just click on this right here. So there's a difference though between a daily challenge, right, versus I think some of the other challenges that exist. So you see how like there's let's keep going back. I think we need to let's see. Is it schedule maybe? What is today? Today is March the 6th. Oh, today is the first day. I was correct. So let's see. For example, you click here and then you register, right? So you've already registered. And so I think maybe what you're asking is, okay, so it seems like you just need to check your inbox. You need to check your inbox to see how you should claim your points. So just read the instructions in your inbox and that should be enough. It seems like it. Because on here, these are not all the challenges for sure. Like this does not look like all the challenges that exist this weekend. And actually, let's go back here and let's go to challenges. So you see how like these are all the daily challenges that you can submit to. And if you just click on this, it just gives you the instructions. Like it seems very straightforward to me. So I'm going to link this website to the chat as well so that you all can see it. So you have the dev post for some challenges, but you also have like the website for some challenges too. And yeah, so if you want to know what to post on dev post, just click on the challenge and you're able to see how to do it. So now I'm going to go back to what we're talking about in terms of people saying what they learned from the session. Building a RESTful API in Java. Yes, I'm glad that you learned that and you took that away from here. The thinking process of building an API. Yes, very, very important. I use this at work all the time. Got to know how to start building an API and necessary object creation, and of course, the use of Java Spring Boot while creating APIs. Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to leave this up here. Building the API, of course. I'm going to leave this up so that you can use it. With that being said, does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns or anything that they want to bring up before our session tomorrow night, where we get to build the API or do the part 2 of building the API? Any questions, any comments, any concerns? If there aren't, I'm going to go ahead and end the call or end the stream. Can I get your Twitter? I don't have one, sorry, but MLH does. Let me get it for you. I'm pretty confident that it is right here. ML Hacks, that's what it is. So let me copy the link. Where is our StreamYard? Okay. That is Major League Hacking's Twitter account right here. So you can use that, follow it, and you get to see like updates and stuff of what's happening as the week goes on. So it'll be fun. Oh, I don't know why that happened. Okay. All right. If there are no questions or comments or concerns, the next stream is going to start in about 30-ish minutes. So if you need to grab a charger, if you need to get some water, take a break, maybe submit some challenges, go ahead and do that. But I hope Global Hack Week has been going well for you, and I hope you've been having fun. And don't forget to submit your challenges. Don't forget to, what is that word called? To check in for this session so you can get credit for it. And I will see some of you tomorrow night. And if I don't see you tomorrow night, then hope the rest of Global Hack Week goes well for you. Yeah. Bye.